Hello and welcome to another edition of Pitching In. We're repeating the same name from podcast to podcast. You can tell that's a good sign. And you know who I am, Michael McKenry on the screen next to me. And thank you for stumbling upon us. We love to talk a little baseball, a little other stuff. Who knows what we'll get into here, but I do know this. The Pirates are in full swing in spring training. There's been all kinds of storylines. I want to lead with baseball's new rules for it because I want to get your take on that. But then we're going to get to a little bit more breaking down the actual team, what we've seen from the pitching staff so far, maybe a little bit from the offense, whether we should be concerned about anybody specifically, man. But to me, the conversation around baseball right now is its new rules. I love the pitch clock. I know some people, before we got on here, I was looking at Chris Sale. And, he's getting pitch clocked. Doesn't seem like Chris Sale was having a great time with the amount of time he had to deliver a pitch. Where do you come down on this stuff? You played Major League Baseball. Do you dig it or not?
I'm going to use a Chris Sale example because I saw that one. He's got a young guy back there catching him, right? It's Chris Sale. If I'm 22 years old and I'm catching Chris Sale, I'm trying to get everything right. But the reality of it is I know nothing when Chris Sale's on the mound, being a youngster. So they had a little bit of discrepancy on the signs. And that's another moment where you want him to have a pitch comp so he can speed it up, maybe call the game. They don't know if they want to do that. I just think if they could be super transparent. I hate the 8 seconds for the hitter. I think it's the dumbest rule I've ever heard of. The 9 seconds because the reality of it is tension creeps in after about a second and a half, right? So I do think that if they want to do 8 seconds, let the pitcher throw. But do not stop the game and call a strike. If they want to drop the puck like they do in hockey, let the guy throw. But don't let the umpire.
The hitter is completely on the defensive, right? Like if you have a pitcher who wants to throw with 13 seconds on the clock, I know that's crazy, but that hitter should be subjected to that without any sort of recourse.
No, after 8 seconds. So if he's not in the box by 8 seconds, or if he's looking down, the guy can let it eat. But that at least allows the hitter, right? At least allows the hitter to dictate if he's ready or not.
But that was ones I've seen. One guy fired a ball and it hit the guy who was looking down like a moron, and then it does something to him, and then everybody reacts and says, "Oh my God, we got a jet." I don't know.
But whose fault is that, right? It's like I'm walking across the street texting, right? I get hit by a car. I'm the one looking down, texting, not paying attention to my surroundings. So that at least puts all the blame and ownership on the hitter. I don't like the power the umpires have. There's more balks already this spring, I'm pretty sure, than there was last spring. There's strikeouts are up, walks are up, hit by pitches are up. There's a lot of things that need some time, and I just think they put too much in the fire too fast. If they would have just done 15 and 20 and 215 3 times, right? Instead of 215, 20, 15 disengagements, 8, 9 seconds, and all these different things, and then leave it up to the umpire, the guy that's looking forward and saying, "Oh, his eyes aren't peeled at the pitcher, he's not ready to hit." Where if you have ever heard of soft focus, hard focus, you're taught to not look straight at the pitcher, right? You want to look off, soft focus, and come back and lock in. And some of these pitchers, which I think's been entertaining, like Scherzer has used it to their advantage. They're holding, get the timeout, get back in. I think it's brilliant. If I'm a catcher, it's exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving my sign standing up. Sometimes just to mess with these guys and see how they react. Because I can get in their head. This game is 90% middle, especially when you get to the big leagues. It's the separator. So if I can throw the rhythm off, their timing off, if I can create some tension, and I told you before, that's how I got McCutchen out. That's how I wanted to get Brian Braun out. I wanted to get them up and hold. And 8 seconds is just too long. I'm fine if they want to throw the ball, but the umpire saying, "Oh, you're not ready to hit." I saw it happen on Hosmer. I'm like, the dude's not on the mound. The guy's not on the rubber. There's no way you can say that Hosmer's not locked in and ready to go, because he could literally take a step in, hit a double, and you wouldn't know it because you didn't get a chance. That's my only issue with that rule right now. I hate that 8 seconds. I hate it.
Okay. I sort of understand that. And here's where I come down on it. In addition to loving the pitch clock, I have no problem with them going whole hog right now. I've heard that a lot, saying "Oh, they did too much too soon." You're not the first person that's said that, but why not? It's spring.
It's the only way they could have done it if they're going to do it like this.
Like, you're not going to roll this stuff in. You know as well as I do, if they phase this in, if they do one of 4 things, then we're just going to complain and overreact about the one thing. Like, I feel like you need to look at this objectively. Is this making a better on-field product? And I would say yes. I don't think it's perfect, but I think the on-field product, if it goes from 320 to 250 or 245 on average, I think that's a win. I would argue
but is it the time or is it the action?
But the time.
And I know, shrinking that time frame. But if strikeouts go up,
the game to take 30 minutes off unless you do something like this. Like, everybody thinks that you're just going to like magically say, "Hey, speed it along, speed it along, speed it along." Like, I just don't see that as a realistic way to slice 30 minutes off of a game. I just don't. I mean, that'll get you what, 10 minutes? I don't think that's enough. People will disagree with that opinion. That's just my opinion that I have.
No, I agree. I think, trying to modernize the game and do some things for new age. But like, I was talking to my nephew and my cousin who are in their early 20s, mid 20s, and they hate it. And they're not talking about pro ball, they're talking about college. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because it's not explainable. Granted, we're in spring training, and a lot of the fans are going to have a little bit of leeway. They have a handicap here to really learn what's going on. The broadcasters are doing the best they can. Yeah. But all the hand signals, all the things, it's more or less like I'm fine with almost everything that's happening. But like we've talked about before, if they would have done it a little bit slower, I'm cool with all in, right? Go with the pitch clock, go with the bigger bases, go with the band of the shift, which I do absolutely love. Yeah, I've really enjoyed that because you can really see that athletic ability come out. But doing it all at once and then throwing 4 different times in that mix and then giving all the power back to the umpire that he can roll it over, he can call it sometimes. The pitch clock is almost never started at the same time. Sometimes when they're on the rubber, on the dirt, sometimes when they catch it. And that's the biggest problem. It's like, in the minor leagues after a month, they really figured it out. It wasn't one infraction. It was just, half infraction. Well, we're in spring training. There's not all the different things going on, the pitching changes, all the substitutions, all the running that's going to be happening, which I do enjoy too, because that's up. But man, like, I just think it's too much all at once, and I hate the umpire having this much power. That's my biggest thing. I don't like flipping at bats. I don't like that thing.
You're supposed to get along with the umpires. Didn't you get along?
I love the umpires, but like the guy's got a vibrating belt. He's got his PlayStation 2 on his side. He's got a pitch comm. He's talking to people up in the booth. He's talking to all of his boys about how hot the girls are in the stands, which actually happened to me in the minor leagues.
Really?
It's just, they had hand signals, and they would call out which girls were hot. And
how do you have a hand signal for a hot girl? Maybe I don't want to.
I don't know. It's like, hey.
Who was this? Who did this? The umpires?
The umpires. They had hand signals, and they were literally pointing at my wife and her friends.
No way.
Like, hey, bro. That's our girls. It's like, oh, man, I'm sorry. Well, hey, you're doing good.
Wow.
Thanks.
Dude, you
I got a lot of strikes after that.
Those signs. You be like, what's the indicator? What's the hot sign here? He's actually.
I'm sure it's like, woo, like that. I'm telling you.
I'll look at my wife and start giving her baseball signs. She'll look at me like I'm nuts.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Even more so than usual, I guess. But
yeah, start watching it now. Now they can actually talk to each other, so there's no telling what they're doing because they're all on IFBs now.
Yeah.
So now they're whispering sweet nothings to each other.
Yeah. It's like you and I do sometimes.
Absolutely.
No. Another thing I was getting to, and I think is important here, there needs to be a line drawn between like unsafe and stupid and just something that like people need to get over and adjust. Like, again, I'm in favor of the pitch clock. I'm in favor of speeding it up. There are times where I do feel like it's too fast. And maybe I know you're not a fan of the other times, but I'll get your take on this. This is based off of what Rich Hill said in Clearwater the other day. He said just 5 more seconds. Just 5 more seconds, I think, would make a huge difference. And even if you don't go 5 more seconds the whole time, what if they would go to 20 and 25 in innings like 7 through 9 or something like that? Like, give guys a little bit more time. I'd honestly be okay just adding 5 seconds in general. Like, I think if you would go 20 and 25, I still think that would lop enough of the game off. And then you sort of preserve a little bit of the extra time. Because honestly, like, Chris Sale didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't around putzing. Like, he got the ball back. He was basically ready to throw, trying to work through signs, get what he wants to throw. Like, I mean, that's a guy doing his job. That's not walking around the mound, taking a breath, picking up the rosin bag, like all this stuff that can be cut out. I mean, the dude's just trying to get back on the mound, get the proper pitch to throw to the batter. Like, I can wait 20, 25 seconds for that. I don't need that in 12 or 13. I just worry that, we're doing something that is unsafe or just unsmart in that regard.
And I will go to the Justin Turner getting hit in the face. The guy was all over the place, and he never got a chance to regroup.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is, like, you also have just so many mound visits, and early in the ball game, young guy behind the plate, he's probably not going to run out there and say, "Hey, bro, you got to calm down." And that's where, like, I'm fine with the timeout. I'm fine with a lot of these things. I think guys will adapt. And I'm with you. Make it 20 seconds straight through and take away the 8 seconds. And I think I'd love it.
Yeah.
The 8 seconds and giving that power to the umpire, if you're going to do that, I said this to Rob King today, make the guy in the booth call it. Make a sound of a horn, have a red light on because you have the guy calling balls and strikes. They want an automated strike zone, so they're guaranteed to get it now because this guy's focused on 50,000 things, and somehow they see the check swing too. So it's just not going to work. They added 2 pieces of technology and 88 rules, and hey, enforce them with everything you have, plus blocks, plus sticky stuff, and make sure that the balls are rubbed up well, and we got the humidor coming too. So just make sure all these things are nice and wound up tight. And by the way, all the veterans just bounced. They're all in Malibu drinking their Mai Tais and hanging out because 10 of them retired. So it's one of those things that, like, it's kind of frustrating to me because it's going to affect a team not making the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if it's the Pirates, Lord help Major League Baseball. You know what I mean? But, like, really, like,
playoffs.
Like, we were 1 game out, and you can look back and, like, remember that time McCutcheon's batting glove broke? And they called strike 3 with the bases loaded in the 9th? We lost that game?
I will bet my next paycheck and several paychecks that if the pitch clock keeps the Pirates out of the playoffs, we are living in a much more catastrophic environment than where we're going to be worried about baseball rules. That's my take on it.
Yeah,
and I hope it happens. That'd be great. I'm all for it.
I just think they needed a little bit more grace, and I see them going all in.
Yeah.
But like I told you before when we talked, was like, just do it with money at first. Give them 3 months. Give them the first half, whatever. I mean, think about it. All those guys at the World Baseball Classic, which is an incredible amount of dudes, they don't have those rules. They don't exist.
Yeah.
So they're going to come back, and their rhythm and their timing and everything else doesn't matter. So, I like the idea of speeding it up, but I still think the problem in the game is branding the players, getting the young generation to love these guys like the NBA's done. The NBA's done a great job. Love it or hate it, they've done an absolutely outstanding job, and that's what they have to do.
Well, and I think the NFL has done an outstanding job too, and nobody's sitting here complaining about the play clock. But I will say this, the play clock being 40 seconds in an NFL game, like, that's not the equivalent to 15 or 20 seconds in baseball. Like, we're talking 20, 25, maybe 25, honestly, as much as I would not like that. Like, if fair is fair, I would say the amount of stuff you're trying to process and what you need to do, like, 15 is definitely too low. I can say that. 20 might be on the money, 20, 25, 25, 30, somewhere in that range. But to me, that's
20. And I have a question for you. I think this would be a great rule, is a courtesy runner for the catcher.
Why? Because you're lazy?
No, I love to run bases. I really did. I actually enjoyed it. But here's the thing. That's one of their concerns, right? That's one thing they had a problem with in the minor leagues.
Yep.
Like, these guys are trying their best. And sometimes, like, you get jammed early on in April. You're trying to get out there, but you can't feel your hands. You're trying to put on your gear, and you're wobbly. So, like,
I don't like it. I don't like it.
They're going to roll it over. But, hey, here you go. You get to carry an extra dude that can absolutely fly. I think that would be blast.
You're turning this into the XFL. We're not doing
exactly. If you're going to change the rules, right, let's do it.
You set me up
all the way in. Yeah, like, not really XFL, but, like, it gives another guy a chance. They took away the 40-man call-up.
It feels gimmicky.
It does, but, like, at least you have the best player, best athlete, best base runner on the field. You get that guy out, and I also think they should do the re-entry rule. just like hockey. Let the guy come out, let him come back in. I'd love a third catcher.
That would be nuts, dude, wouldn't it? If you could re-enter starting pitchers, because a team like the Rays is going to be like, well, I guess he's pitching even innings only. They're going to find some like study that he goes in, goes out, goes in, goes out. They're just going to like line change crap. I don't know.
But he'd have to throw to 3 hitters.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. I'm just saying, like, they'd find some weird loophole. They would.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the other day, what was it? The Red Sox played their left fielder in the 4-hole.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
you're going to see more of that.
Yeah, you are. And I think they should have said you have to have 2 infielders on this side, no outfielders on this side, period.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
Why don't you just put little footprints in the grass, and that's where the fielders are allowed to stand? It'll be like 5th grade, hockey in gym class or something. Did you do that where you had like the little cones set up in your area and you couldn't go outside your area? I don't know, maybe it was just my gym class.
You think I was that kid that stayed in the cones? No chance.
Yeah, that's true.
No chance.
What am I talking about? All right.
What do you mean? Those are parking cones, not my
I know, right? So here's another one of my beefs about these rules, though. We're 16 minutes into a podcast, and all we've talked about are the bleeping rules. I'm listening to Brownie and Walkie last night in the Tampa game. They're talking about the rules. I don't blame them. They're doing the right thing. They're doing the exact same thing to talk about what is being discussed around the sport. But it's just, I wish the discussion was somewhere else right now. I do. I'm like over the rule talk. I want to hear about players. I want to talk about, what Pirates players are doing well, which aren't doing so well, what the roster is going to look like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm just tired of talking about rules and clocks and shifts and whatever else. And maybe I'm in the minority. I'm sick of it. It is a big conversation piece around baseball, and it's that way for a reason. I just think that it's taken some attention away from the on-field product. And
I completely agree, and I'm really interested to see what the numbers are like in the attention span to the World Baseball Classic. I think that's going to be really telling because a good product is a good product. There's a reason Joe Rogan can have a 3.5-hour product or 3.5-hour podcast because he does a great job and it keeps it interesting. There's a lot of guys like that. That's not everybody's cup of tea, and I get it. So maybe they do some different things and figure it out. I love that they're trying some stuff. But once again, I hate that they're doing it all at once. But I do think, I really believe this. Rob King brought this up today, because he's getting ready to come down to Florida. And he goes, I feel like they've manufactured this problem. Like, I'm all for it. I want a 2-hour and 30-minute game is what he said. I wish it was 2:20. And he goes, but I think they love the attention it's going to get, especially going into the NBA playoffs and the jail playoffs. And it's so true. If you think about the balls, the scandal with the balls, not talking about someone's actual testicles and actually talking about baseballs.
Yep, that's good. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was going to ask
sure everybody knows.
Testicle scandal we were discussing, and then I was going to respectfully ask to not discuss it, but thank you.
Yeah, we're just moving straight forward. Got to rub them up well. But the reality of it is like I do think they like the attention. I think people are interested in drama. You can turn on the TV for 4 minutes and see about 8 shows that's full of drama, and I think Manfred's kind of playing that out.
Yeah,
a lot of these things.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about sticky balls.
Yeah, I mean we're almost 20 minutes in now. We're talking about sticky balls. That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So let's leave it behind. We don't need to come up with all the answers for this. We'll come up with all the answers for other things.
I do want to ask: have you noticed about the bigger bases?
I have.
In what?
I've noticed that they look bigger. I don't know if I have any other.
Well, it looks like Super Mario, man. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, he's in the big land.
I thought this was funny, and this brought some memories back for me. You know Chris Mack on the Fan Morning Show, obviously.
Yeah.
You've guested with them before. He said it looked like mat ball in gym class. Did you guys play mat ball?
Yeah, we did. That's so good.
Like, man, I haven't thought about mat ball in years, and you know what? He's right.
It's been a long time.
He's absolutely right. That was a great call.
That's a great call. We were just talking about the presidential fitness test. Earlier today.
Yes.
Where'd that go?
Did you pass?
Of course. I was an adult at 11.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was this size at 11. It wasn't fair.
Did you have facial hair like this?
I did. They called me man-child.
Man-child.
Yeah.
And it just stopped.
No joke.
It's like someone turned off the spigot, as they'd say in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. There's some doctor out there that, I really want to have a conversation with that told me I was going to be 6'3".
No way.
Happened. Yeah.
Wow. His medical license has been revoked, unfortunately.
Oh, I hope so.
He now works on the Jersey Shore somewhere. All right. All right. So what I want to get into for it is a little bit of roster prediction. But I want to start with the starting rotation because I think this is sort of playing out in an interesting way. We're going to see another guy go, Vince Velasquez, tomorrow. I firmly believe is going to be in the starting rotation. Rich Hill's been really good for this group. I'm not asking it that much in that regard. I think that Mitch Keller is going to be their opening day starter. We'll see. If you add two more, I would imagine it's Rowanzi and JT. We're at 5. Is that what you think they roll into the season with? And if that's the case, what do you end up doing with Johan Oviedo? But my question now is if you're sketching out a 5-man rotation, what's that look like?
It's going to be a good sign if Oviedo starts the year in the bullpen. And I don't know what their plans are when it comes to protecting him.
You see him as a reliever?
I don't, but if this is his first year with that full start, right? He pitched half the year in the bullpen in St. Louis. He's shown how good he can be out there. He's been a little bit unpredictable in the spring, but the stuff plays. He's going to be hopefully a great starter. I think he's got front rotation stuff, period.
Yeah.
And I think him and Contreras could maybe kind of go in and out of that role where they're pitching 3 innings, and kind of take that load off of Crow too. So I don't know. I know it's a conversation they were having last year to try to figure out a way to, lengthen out the bullpen, not wear down the bullpen, and try to find a way that they don't wear down these guys throughout the year. I mean, JT hasn't finished a year yet. Theoretically, every single start, you got to think about Mitch Keller because last year, most innings he pitched. Contreras, let him go. Ortiz, same thing. I'd love to see him maybe make the team out of spring in the bullpen, let him just get his feet wet. But I think that's going to be telling of what they think of the team. They're going to have too many good starters in AAA too. So, you're only going to allow these guys to throw so many innings. So if you believe in this team, some of these guys that have the best stuff, the best arms, it's a great opportunity for them to go out in the bullpen, let it eat, learn how to kind of do that. It's helped every single guy that I can think of that has gone out there and then come back to that starting rotation because that mentality is special, right? You work quicker.
Yeah.
You have a no BS mentality. You're going to attack the hitters. You're going to go for the swing and miss, not for that, two-seamer that just rides in praying for a ground ball. I hate when they say, I was trying to throw the sinker and get a ground ball double play. You can't throw a ground ball double play just like I can't swing and hit a homer because I feel like
you don't think so?
I think you can have that intention, but I think you always try to miss bats. By trying to miss the bat, you're going to have soft contact. I remember when I was a youngster in Pawtucket, I had a guy tell me that it was a country bumpkin. He said, man, I want to hit that bat. I want to miss it every single time. And when I don't, they're not going to hit it well. Go. I'm in with that.
I don't know if I agree with that. That you can't throw a double play. I was always taught, a right-hander, you want him to get on top of something on the outside part of the plate. A right-hander, I would throw a chain. My only pitch that any reasonable movement would be a splitter with some arm side run and a drop and arm side run. So I'd start that baby outside, try to get a right-hander to roll over. If I had a guy on first, try to get him to hit a weak ground ball to shortstop and give me a 6-4-3. I mean, that's obviously not the only recipe to do it, but I mean, you're not going to come into a guy's kitchen if you're going to look to, roll up something. I don't know, man. I
think it's a mentality more than it is actuality. I'm more or less saying I would rather have a guy say, I'm
okay not trying to miss those bats. I'm okay throwing a pitch you want a guy to hit, but you want him to hit it on the ground in a specific way.
Yeah, and I would say in a perfect world, I would always want that. I want those quick outs, fast outs, but that mentality seemed to play better, especially with youngsters, saying, hey, dude, go out there, 3 pitches or less, get it in the zone, your stuff's good enough, and I want you to miss that bat. But I want you to miss it within the zone and then expand the zone as you go because they're going to panic with that type of stuff. And that's the mentality. It's not more or less like anything else. If you have a JT Brubaker sinker, yeah, like start that baby way off the plate, let it come back, and watch him roll over it a bunch. And there's some guys that can, kind of play that out, but I hate the mentality of like, oh, it's 2-1. I'm going to throw a sinker and hope he hits, the top half of it, and kind of have that prey pitch.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I like the mentality of like, I'm going to make sure you're taking a left turn right back into the dugout. It's just a mentality more than anything else.
Okay. Anyway,
if you have the command and that's your mentality, I'm going to roll with it. You're my priority, period.
Yeah, if you can put a backdoor changeup 1-2, with some movement on it, as well as I do, you're going to call that pitch every darn time. That thing's not getting hit hard.
I mean, guys, right on right changeup, Mackie, I may bring you out of retirement.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's the toughest pitch.
I wonder how many I have in me, and this is how much I wonder. And this story will make you laugh. So my wife and kids were at LECOM today, and by the way, the LECOM game day experience could not possibly be better. These people were like the nicest people on the planet. Like, we have 2 little kids, 4 and 9, and they're going around. Maybe it looked like it was their first game. I don't know. It was their first spring training game. So they're just like smiles and taking it all in or whatever. And like, people are coming up to them. They're playing the game out in the outfield where we're throwing pitches, and the people like manning that are so great. You get the signs like, this is my first spring training game, and ushers and food vendors. Anyway, just immaculate. I was so impressed. But anyway, so we're playing this game, the speed pitch game, which isn't really that at LECOM. It's kind of like just throw it and try to hit this target, whatever. So like my kids go, and then I go, and I'm like, all right, how's this going to go? The last time I threw semi-hard was at fantasy camp, and I ended up like jacking up my shoulder real weird. But I threw, and it felt good. And then I'm like, man, I could do more of this. All right, maybe I'll extend out. Maybe when you get down here, Fort, you and I'll throw a little bit, do a bit for the podcast. That'd be funny.
I would love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get all excited and try to throw a side or something like that, but play a little catch. Put a little something on the change, maybe yank it a little bit.
My wife says I have a gift of persistence to break down the resistance. So you will be on that mound, because I'll be that little kid like, hey, you want to throw a bullpen? Hey, you want to throw a bullpen?
Persistence to break down resistance. I love it. I love it. You have to have a little bit of that in this field, right? Like, whether you're a player, whether you're on the media side of things, like you have to love it. You have to annoy people into like cooperating with you. I joke with the Pirates sometimes. Like, I'm aggressive as a reporter. I go after everything, like whether it's a positive story, whatever, like I'm going to show up. I'm going to do the job. And so like, yep, you're going to have to put up with me. Yep, I'm going to annoy you into submission. But it generally works out.
Yeah, I think it's a great recipe to chase a dream.
Yeah.
Like I was persistent with my dad.
Like, it's not always going to be perfect, but you can't quite question your effort, right?
Absolutely. You don't want to leave anything out there and say, man, I wish I would have, or I could have done this. No, you just want to leave it out there. I always wanted to retire and put my cleats on home plate. I didn't get to do that, but one of the greatest weightlifters of all time, Pyrus Demas, he hit a world record snatch. I think it was 38 or 40. He was unprecedented, and he took his shoes off and left them on the platform and walked away.
No way.
That was my dream, to retire that way. So maybe I'll get into coaching one day and do that.
Just take your spikes off and leave them at home plate and walk.
Never got back on that platform. Never competed again, and never lost.
Yeah. Man,
really cool.
That's pretty sweet.
I wasn't that good. So maybe
doesn't matter.
Some, like, my shower shoes out there or something.
You were a good player, and I mean, if you weren't,
injuries got me, and I had good. I wish I played now. I really do. I was talking to Alex Presley about that today. He got on a tangent. The information, guys like me, and like you see what Altuve's done, and like just the way Mookie Betts has maximized his talent. He was an incredibly talented player, but he's used all the information and been a student, and it's made it better. Yeah, that's really cool to watch. Like JT Martinez, on the forefront. Justin Turner and some of these guys have been able to do some really cool things. I'm really excited to see what the shortstop the White Sox does this year. He went and worked with the drive-on guys, which is crazy to me, on hitting.
Anderson?
Yeah, Anderson. Yeah. the guys going to Marucci and, getting custom bats like their golf clubs. I'm just waiting for the time when they walk up to the tee box with 4 different bats and pick one. And it's just a different world, right?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of play a chess match now. It's a little bit different. You have to do it faster.
Did you like doing that when you played? Did you like getting as much information as possible? It just wasn't as readily available? Or when you played, were you more like, I'm tuning you out, I want to like see ball, hit ball, and react? Like, what was your approach in those moments?
I never got a chance to chase theories, if that makes sense. Like I was other than 14, I was pretty much fighting to be on the team no matter what. And I was always in that middle ground where I was getting paid a little too much, and maybe they can replace me with the 4A guy, so you kind of start rotating and you become a playoff head.
Yep.
Yeah, like we're like Michael Kadire would be like, dude, just clip the inside part of that sinker and hit it the other way. I'm like, Kadire, I know that's what I should do.
Right.
But I can't do that in the middle of August.
Right.
I'm going to get 3 at-bats this week and 4 pinch hits. I'm going to see the guys throwing 108 sinking it in on me. I don't know what that's going to help.
And if I don't hit,
I'm
going to lose my job.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm gonna dance with what I know here.
Yeah, I would love to do, like I told Presley this today. If I could go somewhere and have 150 at bats and test theories, I would 100% run to the field. Like I love the game. I'd love to be on the field. I don't want to get paid for it ever again because I think that ruins the game to a certain extent. And I got my piece of that. I loved it. But like if it was just pure baseball, go out and compete, I'd play till I couldn't play anymore.
I got a place for you for it. It's called the Daily News League in McKeesport, Pennsylvania.
Let's go. Let's go. You better get that arm tight. I got you some plyables. I'll bring them down.
That was my college summer league, and it was how do I say this? An experience. It was an experience. It was a metal bat league, and it shouldn't have been a metal bat league. I mean, it was obviously grown men.
Is it still metal bat? Please say.
What's that?
Is it still metal bat?
It's still metal bat. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna get one of those supercharged bats.
No, well, I'm not pitching to you in that case. I've told you what happened to my knee, right? So I got my knee busted in half in college. This was between my junior and senior year. So I'm pitching. This is like the junior, the Daily News League, college summer league, whatever the heck you want to call it. So I throw one change up. It's low and outside. Dude gets a great piece of it, takes it right back up the middle, blasts it off my knee. Goes from my knee to the fence in front of the dugout on a fly. Line drive. Clips me up in the air. I fall down on my face. Not making this up. Cracked my kneecap in half. Had to have my kneecap put back together with 2 surgeries. So I hate aluminum bats, metal bats, especially. I want to see college go to wood. I want to see anybody go from 18 and above, my opinion. Like that should be wood bat territory.
I agree, and I think it may be cheaper now, seeing the prices of the bats. I really believe that. Like those
knee surgeries are quite expensive too. If anybody's looking,
I paid for one for the first time. Post baseball, tore my ACL in the knee. But when I was like, man, this civilian life sucks. Being an athlete sucks, and I have Major League insurance, and I'm like, why is it so much more expensive? I have the same insurance. It's like, oh, it's called your business is paying for it. Oh, okay. Yeah. That works. Dang it. But
all right.
Did you play with the -5s or the -3s? You're probably
we played with the -3s, but I'm almost positive in this league there were some -5s snuck in. I don't know what I got pinged with, but I mean, there were some bats that were supercharged.
Do you remember like in college baseball when they had -5s?
Oh yeah.
During like 38 homers?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was coming of age whenever they went from -5 to -3, and I was very happy when it happened.
Yeah, it happened after my freshman year in high school. I actually got better with the -3, believe it or not.
To me, it's more natural. I've swung -5s now, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. There's like it feels like halfway between an actual bat and a fungo.
Or
like
a wiffle ball bat.
And have a kid. That's what -5 would feel like.
Yeah, it's really, really true.
And just to put a bow on this story, this will make you laugh. So I rehab. I'm doing like twice a day stuff at the training room. I'm like, my knee's finally back. And I go to pitch, first live BP. We're northern, Westminster, 60 miles north of Pittsburgh. So there's snow on the ground. It's crappy. We're throwing in the gym. Got the tunnel down or the net, whatever. I'm throwing it. There was no screen. There couldn't have been a screen now that I think about this. But the very first pitch I threw, the jack wagon lines it back up the middle about an inch to the side of my knee. I just chucked my glove. I'm like, I quit. I'm done. I didn't actually quit, but I felt like it.
Did you poop yourself a little?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, Mac, I played with a lot of guys that they would get a ball back up the middle.
And then I wanted to go take it out on like the, locker or hair dryer or something. I wanted to go beat something. I was so mad. How could this fucking happen, man? Come on. I'm just glad I didn't actually hit anything.
I want to ask you, the fear of getting hit, I didn't realize it was a real thing until I got to the big leagues.
Yeah.
How many guys would have a ball hit back up the middle and they'd be terrified. I watch guys actually like falter in the second half and not pitch well because, they took a ball off the calf or whatever, and they were just always worried about it.
Yep.
And then I pitched in 2017. And Pedro Alvarez walked up and a couple other guys that had a lot of juice. And I was just praying they pulled the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm a catcher. I throw good BP, and I gave up 2 grand slams. I mean, I was really good at giving up homers. But I was terrified at it coming at my face. I really was.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So kudos to you to get back up there.
Yeah. I mean, I put it out of my mind. I refused to think about it. I refused to process it. The only thing I allowed myself to do is for a while, I felt better pitching with a knee brace. Like there was something about my landing that occasionally, like I'd land a certain way and it would like tweak it. And I'd get this like sensation running down my leg. And I mean, nothing was wrong. I didn't re-injure myself. It just didn't feel right. And the knee brace, I felt like prevented that. But that was it. I honestly can't remember thinking about it a ton. I probably should have, but maybe I was just young and dumb in that case.
No, I mean, that's our generation. Like I have a buddy that's a SEAL, and he worked with Tyler Matzik. And one thing he teaches, and a lot of those guys do, is violence of action. When they're going to clear a room, you can't hesitate. You have to kick it in and go. And it plays so well in sports, that thought. And I think that's why, the way they're doing these pitch clocks, I think it's going to really help the pitchers at first. And then when the hitters realize, hey, even though that 8 seconds, I hate it. If they took that away, I think it would really help. But if they take that same approach, they won't have time to overthink, oh, man, that split, he's coming. They'll start reacting like they're playing, back in the backyard, back in Little League.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's funny. It actually jogs my memory for a conversation I had with Vince Velasquez. It was after their the sim game they did, a 4-inning sim game he pitched. And it was the first time Vince had pitched with the pitch clock. And I found him to be very thoughtful, introspective. I like him a lot. But I just went up to him and said, what'd you think, about the pitch clock? He goes, honestly, I like it. I like throwing it. All right. I liked using it. I felt like it helped me. What? Really? And he kept going. He's like, I went into this thinking it was going to be a really dumb idea, but like, I'm the type of guy that kind of thinks too much on the mound. I could be my own worst enemy. It helps me get out of my own head. And it's kind of what you're talking about, Ford. Just get out of your own way, get the ball, grab it, throw it. I mean, there's some dudes on the mound, this better than anybody, who shouldn't be thinking. Don't call pitches. Just listen to your catcher. I'm going to put fingers down. I'm going to go to a spot. You should just hit me with the ball. Don't think.
I said this about Clay Holmes, and I told him this. Before I met him, I thought he was either the dumbest human being on the planet or the smartest.
He's the smartest.
Yeah, he's the smartest, right? Because the same effect happens, but the way that you have to go about that training and do things is completely different. He has to grab a hold and learn everything, very similar to Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
But some of the best baseball players are just stupid. Yeah. And they understand, like, hey, I don't need to think. I need grab stick, hit ball, run around bases. I need to grab ball, throw hard, punch tickets, period. And those are some of the best players I ever played with. Yeah. Like, if you heard some of the approaches of some of the best players I played with, it literally sounds like you're just talking to an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, you're just going to go out there and see it and hit it, and you think you hit a slider, you hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball? Yeah. I remember Corey Dickerson telling me that all the time. So I hit behind him. Like, what was that slider? He's like, no, fastball. Like, 82. What was he talking about? He's like, yeah, I was trying to hit it down the line, and he hits it down the left field line, and he hits it in the third deck in right field. I'm like, all right, I know I don't need to talk to him anymore. Let's move on. Right. And then he changed his game. He became a very cerebral player. And I think it's very interesting. He's one of the biggest shifts I've ever seen. But yeah. I think there's something to be said. I think Vince Velasquez, now that you bring it up, I faced him, and he was a guy that maybe overcomplicated. You could see him spinning because he's always had good stuff. He's super athletic. So maybe, they're taking a chance. I know they're doing something with him with the pitch design. That's why he's doing the backfield. So I'm very interested to see where that's going. Yeah. But I think he's got more in the tank. I mean, he's guy always had good movement, 94, 95, very consistently. It's just somehow he's always in that 5 ERA range. So I'm excited to see what he does. Yeah, I mean, to me, Velasquez hasn't thrown enough strikes. I know that's not like a hot take or anything like that. The numbers bear it out. But to me, it got better last year. And then you look at what the Pirates have done with some guys, and frankly, they should be given a pat on the back. Like getting Tyler Anderson to where he is, getting Jose Quintana to where he is. I forget which pitcher was telling me this, but I think it's a good way of explaining what Oscar Marine and even Justin Message have done is just amplifying guys' strengths. Like if Velasquez is a big breaking ball guy, throw the crap out of your breaking balls. They're good. Locate them, get in advantageous counts, and don't get fancy. Don't think too much. Trust Austin Hedges. And I'm really excited to see what this guy can do. I think Velasquez can be very good for them. Yeah, I mean, look at Yu Darvish, right? He went through a little bit of that hiccup over 2 or 3 years in Texas, and then he was like, I'm going to throw slider 60% of the time, throw my cutter 5 to 10% of the time, and throw my fastball every now and then. It happens to be 98. Yeah. It changed everything for him because his best strike pitch, even when I caught him in Texas, was always that slider. Yeah. A lot of guys – that's just what they do better. Blake Snell, when he went to San Diego, it seemed like he forgot that one of his best strike pitches was that slider. It has no horizontal movement when it's good. It just drops. You literally can't see it. It's like a gyro spin. It just drops. So guys don't hit it, but it stays in the zone. Yeah. And, Contreras seems to be a lot like that right now. Is like his sliders is better strike pitch, but he's trying to throw the breaking ball over for the strike, and I hate that. It's like, understand, and I think that's where Hedge is really going to play well with these younger guys. Is like, hey, now it's time to compete, right? This is your best strike pitch. We're going to go with it. Like I've watched a lot of guys resurrect their career. Daniel Bard being a great example. Tyler Matzik. When guys get the yips, they get a better feel for some of those off-speed pitches. And I really believe a lot of guys throw that pitch better for strikes. They just don't realize it. Yeah. Because their entire career, they're like, oh, gotta get ahead with the fastball. Gotta get ahead with the fastball. It's like, yeah, if you throw a changeup better for strikes, throw it more for strikes. It's that simple. All right, let's talk about some offense stuff. I could go on and on about pitching, but if right now, let's look around the diamond, infield wise. Who's your starting infield at this point right now on March 7th? My dream or your dream? Yeah. Well, Brian Hayes would be my shortstop in this dream, so I won't even go there. And O'Neal Cruz would be signed to an extension to play left field, and Trudeau would play at third base, and we'd have the best left side of the infield. Who play third base? Is it what's the Triolo? I always get it wrong, but yeah, then I'd give him the shot, or I'd play G1 Bay or somebody over there, because Brian Hayes would be the best shortstop in baseball, the best left fielder playing the best. Maybe the most athletic guy in all of baseball will be playing the biggest left field in baseball. Wow. Probably put up stupid numbers. Hard. Yeah, but only why would you do it if you're him? Right? If he's a shortstop, he's bound to be a $100 million player if he just stays healthy. If he goes out there, he can win 9 Gold Gloves. I mean, think about the range. That good at shortstop? I mean, I'm guessing you do, but Hayes. Yeah. Banning the shifts. He would be that elite at shortstop. Because of his range at third, I think he gets handcuffed, how good his range is, and he's been playing shortstop the last 3 years. Yeah, because with all the shifts. Yeah. I think you can put someone at third base that maybe doesn't have the same fluidity because of what he can do, and I think having him and Cruz on that left side, I'm going to be interested because they cover so much ground, and Key Bryant's very aware, so I kind of wonder if maybe they figure out a way to play to their strengths. Like Hayes plays the line, and Cruz is really good going towards first, going towards second. So
Yeah.
maybe they find a way, but like that's a lot of athletic ability on that left side.
I'm genuinely intrigued on what Cruz is going to be able to do at shortstop. I went into the spring training worried about his defense and whether he was going to be able to do it consistently enough. And I can't say that what I've seen down here has completely changed my mind, but it's better than I thought it would be.
I think he's great there. Like, don't get me wrong, Mackie. Like, I would love to see the super freak at shortstop forever. And if I'm fighting for his, like,
play the outfield.
Yeah, and I get it. I'm just saying, if you're trying to win a ball club, like win.
Yeah, you're trying to put a winning club together. Sure.
Yeah, you got to pay him a lot of money and tell him what you're doing, and say like, we're not going to take money away. But like, if he's a shortstop, it's a different world.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the kind of way I look at it. And Key Brian Hayes is an automatic Gold Glover if he goes shortstop. Automatic.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to compete with him. His numbers would be just absolutely unprecedented. So like that's why I think about it. And I've seen that kid from AA play, and man, his glove is off the charts too. It's just like he's a Hoover vacuum. So like you would literally probably have the best left side. And they're all young.
Figueroa?
No, Trullo, what's his name?
Oh, Triolo, yeah. Oh, Triolo. The third baseman, yep.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of a dream scenario, but it also gets Bay in the lineup, kind of does some things different.
Okay.
But that's a dream. But yeah, I put Sawinski in left. I keep Reynolds in center. Put Kutch in right. Santana's going to be my everyday first baseman. I'd probably actually trade Choo-Choo.
Yeah.
Is my thought. The reason being is
I don't understand what they're doing there. I don't
either. I think they just got good players, and want to see how it pans out. I mean, they need a left-handed arm now, so maybe something like that plays out.
They weren't going to get Carlos Santana, and so they went out and got G-Man Choi, and then they turned around and said, "We got Carlos Santana. Guess we better figure this out."
I think you're right. I think that's a really good call. It's exactly probably what happened, and I don't think they thought they were going to get Connor Joe either, and they just kind of swooped him away.
Yeah. I mean, I get the Connor Joe thing because Kutch was so out of the blue. And Connor Joe, if you don't get Kutch, Connor Joe makes perfect sense. Like he's what they look for. He's stability out there. And then you say, okay, well, if Cal Mitchell, Cannon Smith, and Jigba, Jack, Swaggerty, all of the above, they get hot in AAA, like I can bump Connor Joe, likely bump Connor Joe and, not feel terrible about it.
Yeah, and he's had success off the bench. Like,
yeah,
I think there's something to be said about that. Like,
you can be a fourth, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, like you're not giving crappy at bats to the young guys who are trying to, build up and not tear down their confidence. Like that's the worst. I remember when Meadows, started out so good in 18, and then he sat, and I said, Kinger, he's going to sit himself into a slump or sit himself into a mind jam. And sure enough, he did. Because like you're going good, and it doesn't matter what they tell you. You think you're doing something wrong not to play because your entire life, when you played better than the other guy, you played.
Yeah.
So you get to the big leagues, right? Because somebody comes back, he has more, tenure or whatever it is, and boom, he's right back out in the field. So I've seen it so many times, and that's what you don't want to happen. You saw some of that last year, not much because there was so much turnover, but yeah, I think Sawinski in left makes sense to me. I'd love to hear your opinion on that because I like the best outfielder.
Yep. At
PNC to be in left field, and he's our best outfielder right now, especially when it comes to analytically. I think Reynolds is going to go up because he's going to have actual outfielders consistently this year.
Yeah. I'm curious what they're doing with Reynolds in left, and I don't know how I feel about it, but here's the directions that my brain goes. Like, are they increasing Reynolds' trade value by trying him in left? They might be. I think he's
decreasing his value. That's what I don't understand. Yeah, by being in center, he's a top 5 center fielder in all of baseball, right?
No,
and that's not. They did it on MLB. He said he was top 4.
Total package, or are we talking
total package, not defensively.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking strictly defense because strictly defense, he's not a great defensive center fielder.
But he was the year before, and you kind of wonder, is the experiments of all the different outfielders, because there was a lot of weird mishaps, and I've never seen him kind of do that on some balls. And you kind of wonder, okay, with Kutch out there, with Sawinski out there consistently, he has 2 guys that are going to give him the reins. And Sawinski's going to be able to cover a side going towards that wall, and that leaves the gaps, which I think he does a very good job of, filling, especially that gap towards the notch. And Kutch is going to be really good if he can play in my opinion. So him in right field may be one of his best defensive years because he can play in. I don't think he likes coming in on balls.
Yeah.
I think he's always been really good at going back, and his gap-to-gap ability is off the charts. So, I think that's going to be a really good outfield and maybe be playing right into all their hands. I'm excited to see that.
Why do you think they went with Sawinski in center? But, I mean, I was looking at Sawinski, and to me, he tracks as a better right fielder and McCutchen a better left fielder because how he can still run. Why do you think they didn't go with that?
So I think Kutch and right makes more sense now just because of the dimensions at PNC. I'm thinking of 82 games.
Because there's less real estate?
Yeah, and I feel like Kutch has always been a guy that goes back better than in. So now he can play shallow. He doesn't have to worry about running into Cruz because Cruz plays kind of 3/4 the way in the outfield when the pop-up goes up because he gets out there so fast. So, he can play in, and everything over his head is pretty much going to be off that fence. And that leaves Brian Reynolds, who likes playing deep, deep alley back and forth. And I think Sawinski is probably Tom Amansky's pet. The fundamentals and his routes and the way he throws, it's always that long hop. It's going in the trash can. He's just so predictable. And he's more predictable than both those guys. So I like him in left because Marte, in my opinion, when he moved to center, they devalued him. He went from being the second best outfielder on almost every defensive analytic behind Alex Gordon, who played the other big left field, because of how much room he could cover in that outfield. It was just unprecedented. That's how Dickey won that Gold Glove, because he got to play the biggest left field, and he was getting the balls that didn't exist in other parks. He was doing things that other guys couldn't do because of our ballpark. And I think that's the value of having a Sawinski or someone that can really run out there that takes really good routes. That's why Cruz is really interesting. Yeah. I can't imagine if they said, hey, just go catch it. Just figure out a way to catch it. And if you want to throw it, please throw it in the air because that'd be fun to watch.
I mean, ultimately, Ford, I think Cruz's best position is going to wind up being the outfield. I think he has the most value there. But to me, I mean, you have to see him at shortstop and what he does this season. You have to give him a chance to play the position that he wants to play, especially if you have any hopes whatsoever of signing him or getting him to sign something here. So if I'm the Pirates, I'm like, I'm going to run you out there for 150 times. But if you make 97 errors, we're going to have a conversation going into 2024. That's
here's the thing. He could make 97 errors and be frustrating and still be a plus.
Well, I'll believe that when I see it.
I know.
I would just say you can have 150 games, whatever that makes sense. We're going to run you out there as much as you can. You can play shortstop all you want, but we're going to reevaluate the defense at the end of the year. And if it's bad, we're going to talk about a contingency plan. If it's good,
the biggest thing for me is health with all these guys. If you can keep them on the field, I'm going to be happy. If you can keep Cruz on the field, that's always the biggest thing. The shortstops can get beat up pretty good. So it's a premium position.
Did baseball become a contact sport?
I wish, man. I would love fighting to come into baseball. No more challenges. It's a duel match with the umpire, right? They got to drop the gloves and go. If you win, I think fighting's always good for a sport. Honestly, I mean controlled atmosphere.
You've been hanging out.
I think that'd be neat. Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little old school.
JK would fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. I love that about him. But
I love guys that they'll leave it all out there like that. Those hard-nosed guys that just, hey, my nose is broken. I'm going to continue to go out there and play. Let's go.
No, and I'm not. I'm just making a crack. I shouldn't have said that about baseball being a non-contact sport or whatever. That is, the grind of a baseball season is so unbelievably real. I did not understand it until I started covering it. You probably didn't understand until you got to affiliated ball and really went through it. I'm sure it's nothing like going through it in college, but man, it is something for sure.
Honestly, Mackie, if someone would have just said, man, it's a breeze, I would have never thought about it. Honestly.
What do you mean?
When I got to pro ball, we played constantly in college, right? But when I got to pro ball, they're like the grind. You got to pace yourself. And it's like they talk you into being tired. Like it's really strange, and I do think it is a grind. I do think that even one day we can talk about this. I think we are training the wrong way in a huge sense because we play a marathon, but we train thoroughbreds, right? They don't run long distances anymore. They don't build an engine. And I think there's a balance there that was just like a symphony in the 70s and 80s when these guys started lifting weights a lot. You know, they were hybrids more or less. And I think you got to build this engine up and be able to kind of handle both. But these guys all want to be Lamborghinis and, run that quarter mile and that's it. And they blow out. Injuries have continued. It's something they were trying to figure out in 15 when I was a player rep. They were trying to do everything they could going into that with MLB to figure out a way to pull those back because you've got to keep your guys in the field. Yeah. They just haven't been able to do it. And COVID and all the manipulation with the IL and everything they did with that, it's hard to even tell, like, is it more injuries or are they manipulating rosters or what's going on or are they sick? It's just so much going on. But, yeah, they got to figure out a way to keep the best players on the field. That's so important. So I wish they had a run rule. If it's 10 after 7, just call it. Like, do some things that protect the players. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go all in and you want to do more, go all in. We have a ghost runner, so, I mean, why not? I mean, seriously, like.
I know.
Ghost runner on second. So.
I know.
Which I don't hate.
Feels a little cheap. All I was asking for some quicker games. I wasn't asking for all kinds of roster manipulations and machinations and shortcuts and rule quirks. Like, just wanted a quicker game. That's all. And I like a question to add some speed and athleticism back into it. I think that's going to be a more valuable product.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when I got into pro ball, my high A year, I threw out 52%. The reason I remember that is 100 and something guys tried to steal. You think about that.
Good throwing for it.
Yeah, I led the minor leagues in throwing that year. But Santana won the defensive catcher of the year, not me. I was very upset about it. But he hit 330 with like 28 homers, and that's what defense was back then. So they didn't have those matrix. That was before I tore my leg one too, so that was fun. Yeah. But I do love that dynamic. I think it's a cat and mouse, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, seeing how everybody adapts and whatnot. But one thing I wanted to ask you is something I've noticed in spring, and I was talking to Kutch about this through a text message. Say, hey, bro, like, I don't know if I've ever seen this many changeups to a righty, right on right in spring training, and how many off-speed pitches you've seen. Like, because his swing looks great, but he's seeing pitches he doesn't see in March. Usually like 2-1, you're probably getting a slider or something that guys are working on. But the game's changed so much. Guys are doing pitch design in December, and they're going full arsenal, bullpens. Like I was watching Familia work on a split pitch design, and I mean the dude threw like 50 of them. Yeah, and it was like December like 30th, and that's completely different than it used to be. They used to be like, oh, don't throw until January off the mound. We want bring you in. These guys are throwing a ton, so they're way ahead. And me and Kutch were talking about it, and I was like, hey, don't get discouraged, dude, because like you are moving so fast through the zone, and you're going to be able to adapt. I think last year you're probably hitting those balls in the gap, because it was into your bat speed. And if you're early right now, I think it's a blessing because the game will start to come back. It's hard to speed up. It's always easier to slow down. So yeah, we were talking about that because I haven't seen that. I mean, right out of the gate, first at bat of spring, it was heater in, awesome changeup, curveball that just for show, and then another changeup. I'm like, oh.
I want to maybe I'll close with this because we should get done here. But it was relative to Kutch. This is the very first or the earliest such email I've ever gotten, and I won't say the gentleman's name, but it says, when should we start to worry about Kutch batting 0 and Reynolds only having 1 hit so far? The Pirate offense is abysmal. Welcome to my world. And I responded, dear, so-and-so, thank you for reading and taking the time to send an email. I don't know when that time is, but it's not on March 6th. Yeah. So I agree that things are certainly different. I was actually talking to Brubaker about this a couple days ago about going to tread and how there just aren't there's really no off season anymore. These guys have different their lives are like seasons. He's got the winter months and the spring months and the summer months, and they all require different pushes or tactical things, or we're emphasizing this, we're not emphasizing this. We don't want to throw too much. We want to throw a few times to really emphasize this body movement. And to me, that's what we're seeing, and sort of what correlates with what you exchange texts with about McCutchen. This isn't your typical March. This is, maybe April or May in previous years, but it still don't count. Still spring training. Guys are still working on stuff. I'm still not going to worry about it. If Kutch's bat is moving fast through the zone, if guys are making good swing decisions, I don't care what the pitchers are working on. Those results over time are going to be okay. And
I'll tell you something. When you had a good spring, you did not feel good about where that was going.
Yeah. You get worried. It's like in the bullpen. Anytime I would warm up and have great stuff, I would get scared to death. I'm going to go into the game and it's all going to be gone. And if I warmed up like that, I'd be like, all right, something's going to flip. I'll feel it okay when I get out there.
Yeah, you're trying to execute something. Obviously, in the minor leagues, it's a little bit different. And when you're coming off the bench, it's a little bit different. But, you can't look into it too much, right? I mean, even on the minor league side, these guys coming in late in the games, they're not going to do that. They have nothing to lose right now, right? So they're going in there and good, bad, or ugly. I remember there were spring training heroes every year. It seemed like it was similar guys. And usually it's because early on they're throwing heaters and these guys dead red, and then all of a sudden a changeup exists again. And right? It's just a different world. So I think it's just a balance and an understanding of what you need. And guys like Kutch and Reynolds, if they get no hits. I remember the year Kadire won the batting title, he didn't get a hit in spring training. Right? Morneau got 3 hits the year he got the batting title. I was fortunate enough to be teammates with them both years, and I was they looked like they didn't know how to play I didn't miss anything, but they knew what they were doing. It was spring training 15 for both of them. So I think that's something to look at. And there's a question that brings up, we got to answer one more question, and I'm going to bring it to you. Is a guy reached out to me and talked about, with all the swing and miss, does the 2-strike approach, even exist anymore? Is it going to be more relevant with the bending of the shift and different stuff? This is a fantasy camper, a really nice guy that, we had some really good baseball talks. He's tough on the Pirates, and I want to hear your thought on this because I hated striking out. I struck out way too much, but I took pride in trying to put the ball in play because I always believed if I can make them make a throw, if they have to catch it and they have to throw it across that diamond, good things are going to happen. Possibly, or at least I'm making something happen outside. The pitcher get off the mound, get out of rhythm, foul off a couple pitches, whatever have you, to maybe help the guy behind you. Obviously, that doesn't get you paid, but it is something to be said when you're trying to win ball clubs. And I heard Judge say this today. He said, they asked, what do you work on after the historical season? He goes, situational hitting and being better with 2 strikes in big situations. And I was like, well, hello. Right? Well, hello. Right? I was like, that's a perfect answer. What do you work on when you hit 62 homers and you break a record and do what you do and you're really not human? You're like Paul Bunyan. You say, I'm going to work on situational hitting.
You started drooling and smiling at him, and you winked a few times, and your wife got
every
upset.
Coach over 57 literally started cold sweating and panting like a little dog, like they're about to get a treat. Everyone of them, old school's back.
That's right.
It's true.
At some point, Fort, we should list the top 5 old school baseball coaching cliches. And I feel like that's one of them. Good 2-strike approach.
Elbow up.
Yeah, elbow. You got to shorten up with 2 strikes. Put the ball in play.
A curveball's going to break your arm.
No, it doesn't exist. Nobody needs me to tell them that. It's like the stigma attached with striking out. It's gone. It's gone. People aren't embarrassed.
I'm gonna let you answer this question. Why? Why?
Because it's such a part of the game. It's omnipresent.
Right.
Reach your outcomes. Like, it's not weird. It used to be weird. It used to be a sign of like, if I don't know what the equivalent would be of like walking into a grocery store, but if like I did something really stupid and then 6 months go by and everybody in that same grocery store also does something stupid, I'm going to care less about doing something stupid. I'm just going to do it because everybody else is doing it. That's what it is. It's not something stupid. It's just like we've become numb to it. And that's where the sport is. And I do give Major League Baseball credit for trying to like say, no, this isn't good. This isn't an entertaining product. So we're going to go do other things and, try to fix that. Like, no, they didn't directly affect how many balls are being put in play. I think some indirect things are going to have an impact there. But, it's at a point right now where it's not embarrassing enough to strike out, and it should be.
So have you ever met Benjamin? He's on a $100 bill. If they made him speak, I'm telling you right now, the game would change. And what I mean is we are in an old system with free agency and arbitration and everything else. And this, you may love this, and I'd love to see what you come up with some research and have this conversation, is make the value of moving a guy over, bunting a guy, like all those old school things, striking out, batting average, and things. Figure out a way to quantify that in a positive way and pay for it, you change the game.
Yep.
If you're paying that, like if they could figure out how to pay for a clubhouse guy, right?
Yep.
That's why Hedges is getting $5 million. Like, yes, he's good defensively, but 5 years ago, he's fighting for a job. Same guy, right?
Yep.
But the analytics and everything else has shown value there, and he's a different bird. And I think if they did that and they showed the money side and they said, hey, Joey Gallo, you're hitting 199, hitting 38 homers, striking out 280 times, and OPS 800, great. Like, that's a winning player. Like, that's a guy you want on your team. Everybody wants him on his team, and that's why you got $11 million because they're hoping he can hit 180 and hit 35 homers and walk 180 times, strike out 280 times because it's a win. But if they shifted the way these guys got paid, you'd see that guy. The guy can bunt. I've seen him bunt, and he's fast. He would be bunting his brains out, taking hit after hit because he doesn't want to strike out. He's super competitive. I've seen him break helmets, bats, everything else when he used to strike out in AAA. He doesn't want to, but that's what they're paying him to do. Hey, go play great defense, walk a ton, swing 3 times a game, but make sure there's 3 strikeouts and a homer, and we're happy. We're 1 strikeout and 3 walks, and we're solid. I think that's where you have to change it, and I'll let you sleep on that because that's where the game will shift. But I do think watching Soto, battle and go out and spread out and, have a really good at bat and, 7 pitches in, you're like, man, this is awesome. This is old school battle right here. I love it.
Yeah. And sleep I will, Fort. Rest assured. I will sleep well tonight, my friend. These spring training days, they are long, and the sun comes up early, and I get up with it. I turn into senior citizen hours down here. So,
well, on Tuesday of next week when I show up, I'll be the rookie. You got to walk me in. You got to tell me what time to be there. I'll walk in with you.
Okay.
I'll carry your bag in. Too.
Yeah, that's right.
Like also, like, hey, I got it for you, vet. No problem.
Yeah. There we go. I love it.
Yeah, what time do you get there every day?
Probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
7:30, 8 o'clock, and then what time do you head out?
4:35. Usually get out, get some dinner. Right now, my family's in town, so I'm trying to be efficient on getting out of there. And my work at night is generally limited. But if I am by myself, I would, probably get there 7:30, leave at 5. Probably knock out a few hours of work at night after like getting back from a dinner, and usually be in bed by about 10 o'clock. Get up at 5:36 the next day and do that for 45 days straight or whatever the heck it is. So
well, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you, and maybe we can do this in person when I come down and have some fun, but get some sleep, Tell the family hello.
I guess next week's episode might be in person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. We can even do it at the ballpark. We can get weird if you want.
Wow. All right, let's do it. I'm in.
Cool. And pick a place. Dinner on me. I owe you. I missed last week. I took a siesta with the Vegas. My bad. So
you don't
I owe you dinner.
I mean, I'm not going to turn it
down. Just take the dinner. Take the dinner.
All right.
Your choice. Mama comes down, I think, Thursday or Friday. So before then would be great. If not, you're going to dinner with Mama. Unless she's out with my niece.
All right.
All right, brother.
Be well, my man. And for anybody listening, we say this every week. We've got a few things in the hopper that now that Fort's back from Vegas, we need to make time and attack some sponsorship discussions to have with people. I think we're going to be rolling that out fairly soon. But any ideas, people that want to contribute, you can get after us pretty easily at jmackeypg on Twitter, jmackey@post-gazette.com via email, answering everything all the time from you guys. Have loved the feedback so far that we've gotten on social media via email and all that stuff. Really, really appreciate you listening. And Fort, I will let you send us out of here and throw out your contact info and see if anybody wants to get involved. Thanks.
Yeah, anybody that wants to give back to the Pittsburgh community, give us a shout. We want to try to do everything we can to give back and use this as a platform to do some good, talk some baseball. And if you want, reach out. There's also the opportunity now with this going to be on every platform. You can leave comments on different platforms, or you can do it on social media or the Fort McKenry at gmail.com. Any way you want to go about it. And Mackie, if there's more than 3 to 5 questions in a week, I will get on and do like a little small clip on my social media to catch up and answer some of those questions, because I had about 3 or 4.
Okay.
I want to make sure to get back to the fans, and I think that's the fun part of this sometimes, because Pirates fans ask some really good questions.
They do.
They really do.
All right.
All right, brother. God bless you. Appreciate you. Good work.